Okay. All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. We've got Bill Baker, Korin Felix, and Greg Bonebreak. Um, I am from the operations manufacturing consulting side, Korin project management, and Greg is from our product development side. So we're going to just first give the floor to Greg a little bit to talk about what's coming really soon, and then we're going to go back to Corinne and myself to talk about routings and schedulings, best practices, and also introduce you to some new functionality we have in the Rover Web, which for production scheduling using what we're going to cover in routing. So without further ado, let's kick it off to Greg, and go ahead, Greg, give us an update on what's coming for Rover Web, Rover in general.
All right, thanks, Bill. Let me share my screen. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. So I'm just going to show a couple things on the Rover Web side. We've introduced a new module for inventory. So the first aspect of inventory, the inventory module, is the ability to do receipts. So when you land in the inventory module, you're going to see a list of your POs. Those are filterable so that you can choose whether you want to see new, back ordered, or closed items. And then to initiate a receipt against one of those POs, we can just click on a PO and it will bring up sort of the equivalent of the receipts.exe in the desktop app. So from here, you have, actually, let me choose a different one. So from here, you have the option to, well, first you get general details about the PO, the vendor, the PO number, the status, receipt date, which defaults to today's date. Then you have the option to just click receive all. You can also clear all. You can manually enter quantities that you're receiving, and then we provide some feedback on the quantity match, right? So this line, we are expecting to receive 100. So if you're less than that, we highlight yellow. If you're trying to receive more than what was on the PO, we highlight red. We also allow for detailed receipts where you can receive quantities and associate them with lot numbers. So if we wanted to receive a partial in a given lot and then another portion of it into a secondary lot, we allow for that type of detail. So yeah, this is kind of the base of our inventory module, starting with receiving. I'll just receive all and click save. So now we can see that receipt was created against this PO. So next steps for the inventory module, we're going to introduce some inventory inquiry functionality. That's our intended next function within inventory. But we are interested in everyone's feedback. So if anyone has ideas of functions within the inventory space that would be particularly useful on the web, feel free to chat those or send us some further information after the discussion. So that's a quick preview of the inventory module. So back to Bill.
All right. So yeah, we're going to get into routings and scheduling now. Some of this may, different people on the call, it may be review. Some of it may be new information. So our goal is really just to show you the capability to schedule your production or value-added operations inside, outside your facility in Rover. In order to, in the end of the day, why do we do this? We're trying to manage our resources better, right? So we're going to start with kind of the basics, the setup, and then we're going to look at our web scheduling tool and also just kind of how you can use Rover BI even to monitor capacity of those resources. So without further ado, we're going to launch it to Korin.
Yes, I'll take it away. All right. So as Bill mentioned, this is geared towards manufacturing companies and management teams and how we set up the data structure and tracking for work centers and routing. So I'm going to start in wc.e. This is where we will define work centers. And I have some predefined work centers already for this particular demo. So I'm going to be talking about a real world example for some of us we're going to be making a wood table today. And so I'm going to be describing the processes with making a wood table. So I'll start with a work center, right? Work centers represent areas where value is added, whether through machinery, labor, and even outside processing, which we will cover if anyone utilizes outside processing. So this screen will feature pre and post operation hours, setup, crew size, and even capacity definitions. So the first work center I'm going to jump into is going to be a work center that I set up already for assembly. So this work center ID can be created, I don't know, how would you say, just be created as you need, as you see fit. So this particular work center, I'm just calling, assembly B. And this is an assembly line for wood component assembly. The first field I have entered is the daily hours. So how many hours does this work center, how often or how many hours a day is this work center in operation? So I have 8 hours defined here. And then the pre-operational hours is set at 1. Now the pre-op hours, it's going to be time for preparing the work center before the operation starts. So an example would be material gathering or reviewing work instructions, reviewing any safety protocols, and things like that. So you could capture these pre-op hours for this particular work center, and these fields will automatically load to a work order. So that's pre-op hours. It's like gathering legs and screws and glue even, and brackets from inventory, right? So if I was making a wood table, this is where I'd want to, maybe account for those pre-op hours. And then next is post-op hours. That's going to be, tasks like the time you need for cleanup or resetting the work center after an operation. So cleaning or even just waiting for material to dry, or the time it takes for a job in transit even. So that's what the post-operational hours are for. And just take note that this time is decimal time. So 0.50 is going to be 30 minutes. So 30 minutes over 60 minutes. And that's how we would define that field. So decimal time. And then the next fields we have set up is setup hours. So this is going to be kind of similar to pre-operational hours, but pre-operation hours are going to be more broad tasks, and then your setup hours will be more specific usually. So time to prepare the work center or equipment specific to some operations. So that's that. And then the last item, one of the last, is going to be crew size. So pretty much defined as just the number of workers needed to perform a task in that work center. So you could label that there. And then what else do we have? Your shift. Yep, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I just got a quick one to make sure I chime in. Is I want everyone to notice the allow scheduling checkbox there in the center.
Mm-hmm.
That we're going to come back to later, but that's what allows you to use this work center in the web scheduling app. So to be continued there, but just wanted to interject there, Corinne. Go ahead.
Yep, perfect. Yep. And then, shift would be the last thing to cover. There's even break periods, but shift, and that's going to be military time. So 800, 1700 hours, your 5 p.m. time. So we put that in there. And let's see, one last thing to cover here is this outside processing checkbox also. So I did make a work center that covers, so I'm going to bring up another work center. This is an outside processing work center for paint, just as an example. And I've selected outside processing, and this will tie into the work order once it's issued. So that outside processing is here, And again, just filled out some necessary information for that work center. Okay, and next we will jump into, so I just, just the important information here. The more information we fill in here, the more accurate scheduling will be, and just, all that data for a work center. So here we go. And I have my favorites saved right here at the bottom. So these are the screens we're going to be reviewing. So just defining those work centers, and now routing.e. So I have a routing also set up. It's table 001. Right, there we go. So routings and scheduling, or routings are defined as just the sequential steps required to turn materials and labor into a finished product. So these organizing steps and aligning just the, what setup hours I have here and run hours. So you'll notice that this work center assembly that we were just looking at, it preloaded the setup hours and the pre and post hours, also the crew size. The run hours now are going to be, the time it takes, the actual job will take. That's what the run hours will be for. And then also, let's see. So the routing ID and lot size. Lot size is something we should mention. So if you wanted to scale the run hours through a specific quantity. So if a lot size is 100, it'll, and my runtime maybe is 10 hours, it'll divide that per unit. So if you wanted to take advantage of that lot size fields also. So you could always right click on these fields as well and kind of see the predefined explanation there. And so so you got the work center operation 10 for sawing, assembly, sanding, and then notice I have my outside processing work center here also. So we'll use a real work order, an example of how that outside processing works. So yep. So anything else I didn't mention here? I think covered.
No, I think pretty good. Anybody just keep watching. Oh, here we go. Amir asking about what does allow scheduling do. So Amir, we're going to cover that at the end. It's going to be we're going to be showing our new web scheduling tool, and that's what the setup for a work center to enable it to be in that tool is going to do for you. Any questions out there for for what we covered so far, work center routings? Okay, I think we're good. Just put them in the chat, and we'll jump back to it if you want. If not, Korin, I think we're good to keep going. I think the next step is, what do I do with these routings, right?
What do we do with the routings, right? Yeah. So we set up the work centers, we set up a routing, and we can now see it applicable to a work order issued. So this work order here that I have issued for wooden table, this is what I'm going to be making. This is my assembly, that wooden table, and I want to make quantity 2. And we can notice here in the routing and scheduling tab that, let me go back here, the general tab. So you see the routing ID here. That's the tab -001. This was preloaded and defined in my parts.e record. So anytime I issue a work order for this assembly, I have my routing ID linked to it. And so it loaded that information. And so you'll notice setup hours, pre-op and post hours. These are all just like a fixed quantity in a sense. It doesn't matter if I make 1 or 5. These are all the same amount of hours. However, my run time multiplied based on the units I had. So, just important information there, as well as crew size and quantity. So, We'll take a note also here, the outside processing. Notice this outside processing checkbox is checked, and that came from the Work Center definition, workcenter.e or wc.e. So that checkbox was loaded from the options that we had in wc.e. And headed back to the importance of, we covered the importance of routings and work centers. Here's the scheduling aspect of things. You have a release date and completion date, right? So, you're going to want to make sure we put in that completion date. It looks like I have this work order scheduled to be completed on the 22nd. Options of scheduling back, which would determine my release date should be 1 day prior based on the hours that I need to complete the job. So different options there. But that's going to be the importance of this work order, is just your routing, release date, and schedule date. Let's see. Also, we covered outside processing as well. So anything else to cover here before I jump in to show outside processing, Bill?
Go ahead, Korin. I think we're good.
Okay.
I don't see anything in the chat. So.
All right. So this finished good work order, it requires an outside processing step. So I'll show you how we were able, how we could utilize that function. So this item I need to send out in Operation 40. So I'm going to go ahead and issue a purchase order, or show you a purchase order that is issued for that. So I created a purchase order here for Perfect Paint, our supplier vendor Perfect Paint. And the part number here is my finished good assembly. I have to send it out. And I expect it sending it out yesterday. But yeah, expect it back today. So venture into this detail line item tab and notice the receipt location and stock location is WIP. I changed that manually to, so when I receive this PO in, it'll get received into WIP into my work order. In addition, I linked the work order number and also the operation that is that's tied to. So Operation 40 here is going to be Operation 40 for my work order. So linking those two things together, you'll notice once I did that, there is a purchase order here now. So my work order ID references the purchase order number as well. So that's just some tracking and some visibility there. So once I received this purchase order in receipts.e and we're able to see the costs. The cost tab and outside processing shows this $200 was received. Outside processing, $200. So that's just a kind of a cool feature. Outside processing can get complicated in different ways, but I think this way of processing items getting moved out of inventory and back in against a work order and the costs associated to it can be really helpful. So so that's it for outside processing. And that's it for the show of routing.e and workcenter.e and also work order. So we can open it up to questions and then transition back to Bill. Back to you, Bill.
Okay.
Any questions? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Pretty solid overview. Just, we can incorporate a lot of different types of work and value that we're adding inside and outside. And that PO, the PO route receiving to a work order, you can build potentially workflows that are based off of when that comes back in. I alert this person or do this transaction. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was curious if you could open up mrp.q and show us what that would look like in the MRP schedule. All of these transactions that you just basically went through.
Okay,
so,
I don't. I was gonna say I don't know if we want to. So we can do that. I wonder if we can.
Well, and the only reason why I say it might look a little different is because I already received this PO yesterday and it likely posted overnight. So, yeah. Yeah, and I don't have the proper settings set up for MRP, but that's a good
Run
point. I
MRP.
think that,
Yep.
yeah, I would have to make some. I wasn't prepared for that, Jeff, but
Oh.
that's a good comment,
Sorry,
and I think
I
that
didn't mean to. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
no, not at all,
No,
not at all.
no, but Jeff, we'll do this. We'll follow up after, and
Yep,
we'd be happy to do like a 15-minute training or something with you on that, if you're open to that.
I like that.
All right.
I love MRP, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
Thank you.
send you an email after, and we'll set that up. No problem. So, um, okay. Any other questions? It looks like we got something coming in the chat, guy, or we jump to scheduling. If you want to keep an eye, Corinne, on the chat, I'll just jump over to the. Oh, here we go. For curing step after process that takes 3 days, would processing be entered as 3 times 24 or 3 times 8? So this is going to be basically for post-operation time potentially. Yeah. So I think you would enter in this case
It would
if
depend on
your
work
daily
schedule.
hours are set up at 8, then you would do 3 times 8. If your daily hours are 24, then it would be 72 or 3 times 24. Okay. So it all depends on that. If we want to jump back to wc.e really quick, we could just show what we're talking about there. So right there, that daily hours. Yep. Okay. All right, great. So we're going to continue. I'm going to flip over to a new screen. So first, before we go into scheduling, just some notes on the how to set it up. So Amir already referenced it earlier. On workcenter.e, we have that allow scheduling checkbox. And then the next step that we have is in the wo.control, we have a scheduling tab here. And as we build more and more features into the scheduling app, this is where the configuration settings are going to go. At the moment, though, we have is the definition of work center groups. Okay, so these are scheduling groups that, think of different work centers that maybe we want to kind of schedule together, or we think of them together. Maybe the same person is scheduling for all of these work centers. So in our example of just sticking with the table, we have a team here. We've got Bill, Curtis, Allison, Jake, Jim, and Korin. And basically that's just an example of what a scheduling group might look like. So let's say I'm a supervisor, I'm a team leader, I'm a planner that is in charge of scheduling this team. Okay, so we have a group called Team 1 here, and we have people on it, and then we have also work centers. So let's say we want to bring these things in, these operations that involve making tables, assembly, sanding, outside processing, QC, and sawing. That's why they're also part of this group, and we'll kind of see what that looks like in the web app right now. Got some other settings here for the scheduling tab, and as I mentioned, as we build more and more features, this is where you're going to be kind of configuring your scheduling app. So without further ado, we will just jump to the kind of introduce you to the scheduling app. So when I'm navigating in Rover Web, I'm going to go to the production module, and I'm going to go to the scheduling tab here, and I'm going to get a list of orders that have not been scheduled yet, as well as there's a Gantt style chart here that we can drag and drop work to. This is work that's already been scheduled here. So if we look at, right now, this is a list of work I have to schedule. I've got kind of filterable. I've got the due date, Corinne mentioned, and the work order. We've got quantity. We've got work order number, part number, and then we also have the operations listed off to the right too, to show us kind of what different operations need to be done for that work order. So just to kind of that's the overview of the table, and then the Gantt chart. We have the flexibility here determine what period of time we're going to be scheduling. So right now I have it set to, today from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., but I could easily just kind of change the end date to include tomorrow, and now I'm scheduling 2 days at a time. Or let's say in this example, what I'm going to do next to just kind of show you the functionality is we're just going to look at tomorrow, because let's say I'm a supervisor and I just like to make sure that my team has their schedule in advance of the next day. So here I'm going to change the start date to the 20th, 6 a.m., and I'm going to have the end date at 3 p.m. And you can kind of see that right now I have the work centers listed that were in that group that I defined in WO.control, and I can see kind of what work has already been brought to them. So now I'm going to just simply kind of add a work order in and just see what first thing I'm going to do is these are the default work centers that the work order is set up to go in. Now I'm going to kind of just map it out. This step has to be done before this and this. And here's where I can basically start to move it to different resources. Okay. So here I'm going to schedule that part to Jake. Maybe I'm going to just, Jake's capable of doing both steps here. I'm going to drag and drop it there a little bit. And sanding, I'm going to give to Curtis. So this is what it looks like. Now you'll notice things that are kind of in flux, so they haven't been committed to the system yet, they're going to be highlighted yellow. As soon as we click save, the actual work order schedule has been updated now. So now our data in Rover is up to date, okay? And this becomes very important because we can add some tools here to look at capacity. And this is an example here I'm going to jump to really quick. This is a dashboard that we made in Rover BI for this kind of fictitious table company. And we have the ability to kind of put a start date and an end date. Right now, we're just looking at the whole team, and we can see kind of how many hours have been scheduled by day, and then what kind of hours are available to schedule by work order due date. So this is a way that I can see, okay, so far, let's say my team has, 48 hours or 60 hours of capacity. They're loaded up for today, but I've got to start scheduling things for them to kind of get to capacity for tomorrow. So I'm going to jump back. I'm looking at capacity, and I'm working with the scheduling app at the same time. So here, we're going to keep going and just kind of keep filling up the schedule for tomorrow. So I'm going to drop another order in here and just go ahead and assign it. Please, any questions, jump in, or Korin, just mention it, and we'll stop for a second if we have any. Okay. So this is another example of kind of bringing in a whole work order in, splitting up the workload, moving it around between resources. Okay, and I'm going to, add this part to Korin's workload here, and we're going to commit. Again, you can kind of see the schedule starts to fill up. An important feature here too is if you want to be a little bit more precise, you've got the operations listed off here to the right, and then we can basically just drop them operation by operation right into the work center that we want to schedule to. So you see there, and again, we have the highlighting yellow to let us know that we have unscheduled aspects here. So I'm going to go ahead and here we're going to move sanding back over to Curtis, and then give the final inspection to Bill. Okay, so this is an example of how one would schedule a work order operation by operation. Okay, and for different companies, they might just have one step, but other companies might have 20 different operation steps. So the complexity really varies. So, okay, it looks like we do have a couple questions here. So let's see, Eric's got, are the scheduling and scan tabs only available on the .NET client or also on the desktop client? So the scheduling and the scan modules are only available in the web client, okay? What we're looking at right now is what we refer to as the web client, or Rover Web. It's interacting with the same data as the .NET client. There is some barcode functionality in .NET though, Eric, that you're probably familiar with, and scan is very similar to that, but they're Scan and scheduling are exclusively web applications. Okay, we got Amir.
Mhm.
Let's see. This is great. Is there a process to reschedule work orders not completed as planned and move to the next day? That is a great question, Amir. I would say that we probably, at the moment, this is really looking at schedule, and we do have, filter and visibility here by status. So I would say there's probably a manner we could either use Rover BI right now to indicate that, and or we could potentially add a feature in the future to sort of code these if they're completed, they turn a different color or something, and that way we could see something that's open for a previous day and just move it to the next day. I will show you really quickly how you can how easy it is to move to the next day. Let's just say, for example, that Jake said, "Hey, I'm out of here at 8 o'clock. I'm sick." I can just go ahead and just change the work here to the 21st from the 20th, and then it's going to be in the next day. So it's really easy to move it to the next day. The only question would be kind of what's telling you to move it. Okay.
All right. And then Eric says, can the scheduling tab be broken down by departments and then specific employees within that department? So
Okay, that's a great question. So Eric, you can define as many. I'm going to jump back to work order.control here. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Within the scheduling, you can define as many groups as you want, and a group can have, 1 to infinite number of work centers in it. So the way I would approach that is I would create a group for each department, and then I might even just create a group for a specific employee, even if I wanted to use this functionality to schedule an individual employee's work, which that's kind of the example I ran with, right? And
Mhm.
that's how we're doing it right now. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It looks like Corey.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead, Corey. Yep.
No, I was just to that point with departments and specific employees, like my group name would be a specific department, right?
Yeah, you could.
Right.
You
And
could
then
absolutely.
within I would have specific employees if I was scheduling,
Yeah.
them all together. So
So let's say we just kind of it's as easy as this. We would just say, Department A, and then this is how easy it is to create a new group. So here we'll add maybe just bills in that department for now. Oh, okay, I'm view only
Mhm.
because one of our developers is in the record, but you get the idea.
Yep.
It looks like Corey's asking what workflow would users like to see to reschedule those work orders. That's a great question. So maybe that's something Amir and or anybody else we can take. Please send us an email or something with what features you are coming to mind as you see this, including that workflow. Okay. Let's see. So just kind of to continue, the scheduling. I'm going to refresh this now because the data is it's posting live once Rover's updated. My dashboard's updating, and I'm seeing kind of what I have available here. Go ahead and clear the individual. So this is another place where I can configure, and I'm looking at the whole team now, but I could switch this to just Bill, and then that's going to tell me how many hours Bill has scheduled each day. And I still have the hours available to schedule here. And I like this too, is I've got a list at the bottom that just kind of shows what what is my schedule. I've got I'm doing this work order, this operation on the 19th from 5 to 7. So this is a great way if you're using the scheduling app to schedule a team. You can use a web dashboard to just give your team access to, and they can just go see their work only. If I can just basically take this dashboard and either pick myself or pick whatever team member, and I'll get basically their data. So
yeah, so that scheduling app that you're looking at here, that could be a supervisor or a manager or a lead of some sort scheduling the work, and then Rover BI would be an end user, essentially, right? An end user reviewing their workload or
and just to tie it all together, if we don't want to do an independent web URL dashboard in Rover BI, we can also use Rover BI to embed the dashboard at the landing page of the web client. So if I'm a production user, maybe I want I want their dashboard to just be that dashboard. So when they come into Rover Web, they're just going in and seeing that and doing whatever else they're doing. So those are the different different ways. It looks like we got another question.
Yep.
So the work centers in the scheduling tab pulls all employees based on work center assigned in the emp.e file. So right now, Eric, the way it works is exclusively off of work center. We haven't added in or tied in employee specific functionality. So the way that I did the demo here is I just made a work center for employee. But I think what you're getting at potentially of using employees specifically is probably a workflow that we could look to add in the future, and I imagine will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, correct. This example has Bill as a work center. Yep. And then the team is the group of those work centers. You got it. Okay.
Yep.
So pretty excited about this tool. I mean, it really levels up the ability to manage, a team capacity, scheduling. You have the nice visual within the Gantt chart itself to see how well that person is or resources is utilized that day, but you also have the ability through BI to see kind of how it looks in the future. So yeah, we're excited about it. Hope you guys are too, and we really would like to follow up with any questions, et cetera, how to set this up if you want to start trying to use it in your account. Okay. Korin, anything else? Greg, before we close up?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really exciting stuff. So, I mean, to be able to drag and drop a work order, just like that, it's pretty cool. Just my historical profession.
Yep.
I want to use it. It's cool. Yeah, very exciting.
Mike, definitely this recording will be, sorry, Greg, just get a quick question in the chat. The recording will be available later. We'll post it. I think all master classes we've been posting on our YouTube channel. So we'll take a note here to make sure that that happens, and or somebody will shoot you the link. Okay. Oh, Corey's already got it. Okay, yep. Greg, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my only other comment was going to be we hope to make use of this Gantt chart in other operations within the web as well. So if anyone has thoughts on places where they could see value in a drag and drop type interface, feel free to let us know, and we'll consider those for future editions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for attending, and we'll see you next time. All right, and we'll follow up on those few items we got. Okay. Thanks.